Coach, the draft ends. Everybody loves to have an opinion. Everybody loves to kind of give grades and rankings and all of this stuff. But how do you kind of balance the outside noise with knowing why you made the selections, knowing where you're taking the team and what you're working on, as far as like measuring your matter of success and where you're going?
Well, the great part is I don't pay much attention to the outside. So we do our work, and we have our draft, and then we get back to work, and that is where we are right now with the off season and player participation and teaching, coaching, developing, all those things. So, yeah, the draft is it's an amazing process. A lot goes into it, a lot of different opinions, and I think people read enough that they feel like they have a pretty good understanding, and then they have an opinion, but I don't pay much attention to it.
It makes it fun for everybody.
It does.
It does. It's part of the game, and since we have to wait for the games to come about, it's a way for folks to kind of get involved. Correct, stay connected. The guys have been back here. You're going to have the rookies coming out soon. How exciting is it for you to kind of just be around the guys again?
It's awesome. It's the first time, in our 3 years here, this is the first normal off season, or fairly normal. But yeah, full draft, players coming in this weekend, the rookies, and we'll join the team soon and begin working. So yeah, it's exciting to get those guys. It's kind of like Christmas, you get to open a new present and see what you have.
Let's talk about some of those presents now. The past few years, you had the first pick in the first round, and you had to wait. Scott Turner got that first pick,
right.
And he offense seemed to be a little bit more targeted, but you did get a couple of guys on defense. What is your take on going into it on, how many players you want? Do you go in with that expectation of this is who I want to target or positions I want to target or where I really need help coming out of the draft?
It's really easy as a defensive coordinator. I stack them how we as a staff defensively stack them how we like them. We get to give our piece in front of the coach and in front of the general manager and all the different scouts, and then let them do their job. And so, for me, it's about whatever the best pick is to help us win. I'm for it. And we went with more offense this year. I think I like what we've done with our football team. If you look at what we've done throughout the offseason and what we did, again, leading up to the draft and then the draft, I think it's been a very strong offseason for us.
Phidarian Mathis. He was your first pick. They were able to get out of Alabama. He's kind of that guy that does a little bit of the dirty work, likes to kind of take on those double teams, but still has the ability to really get to the quarterback as well. What is it when you look at his game that you said this is another guy we want to add to our defensive line in that unit? Yeah,
he's a well-rounded defensive tackle. I think he's best in the run game. He's at this point, our third legitimate defensive tackle body that we have in the building. So he'll help spell John and Duran. Happened to go to Alabama. I mean, that doesn't hurt him. That's not why we took him. I mean, people are like, oh, another defensive tackle from Alabama. It's like,
I mean, come on, Coach. We are swinging a little heavy for the Bama. We need to balance out a little bit extra.
It worked out that way, but no, it had really little to do with that. But he's a big, strong guy. He can eat up blocks. He can generate some rush, some push inside. And obviously with our big DNs coming off the edge, we need some of that interior push.
How important was it, especially losing Matt Ioannidis and Tim Settle, to have and target maybe somebody that could dominate the middle?
I think that made it more of a need, created a need. The reality is, in the draft process, you have different players across the board, and so long as you're not reaching down a level to grab somebody, if they're graded there and you select along the line, and need comes into it in that situation, I think that's intelligent. I mean, I think that's a good thing to do. So, I thought it was a good pick for us, good solid pick. I think he'll be a good player for us.
You like to move the linebackers around and kind of give them a little bit of freedom to run. How much will he help that unit by taking on some of those double teams in the middle for you? Yeah, I mean,
we count on our defensive line to penetrate, disrupt, and become anchor points. So when those guys are doing their job well and they're being disruptive, it frees up the linebackers. You know, we're not looking for guys to hold on to two guys and you know, give it the Iron Cross and hang on and let the backers run free. We want them to actually penetrate, make the offense have to deal with them in the penetration and the disruption, and then the linebackers be able to fit off it.
Didn't draft a linebacker this year, but let's just go ahead and go to that unit since we're kind of on it right
Sure.
now. Because of the injury to John Bostic, Cole Holcomb kind of like took over, and you know, he told me throughout the year, like, it was a lot learning how to call the plays and get everybody lined up, and really helping Jamin try to come along as well and solidify that unit. Where do you see him in his growth and really that unit in their next step of development?
Yeah, I think Cole Holcomb, when we first got here, he had played his rookie year, a little raw. We liked some things about him. He played better that next year, and then last year he took a huge step forward. He really played very well. In fact, a lot of the guys that are getting the pub around the league, he played as well or better than. So I would say don't sleep on Cole Holcomb. He's a pretty good football player. Jamin had a rough rookie year. Well, it wasn't a great rookie year, but you know, the amazing thing when you go back and look at it, if you take like 30 splash plays out of the year, it's like, oh my God, this guy's a great player. So what we need for Jamin is more consistency, and I think you'll see that growth in his second year. Things will settle down a little bit for him, and you'll see a little more of that athletic ability, you know, kind of come to the forefront.
I think people have these expectations that, especially if you're drafted the first round, you come in and you hit the ground running. But it's a huge transition on so many levels. I think when you're trying to come in and have an impact, a lot of the guys you did target this year in the draft come in with a lot more college experience, kind of maybe where you can expect maybe more out of them earlier on.
I think that's fair. I think, you know, if you're a 4-year starter or somebody that, you know, played a lot, you got 30, 40 starts in college, I think that translates to a more comfortable professional football player. So yeah, our draft class happened to flush out that way. It's not like we said, okay, only the guys that have played this many games, but when you look at it in retrospect, we have a lot of experienced players coming in.
I know Coach told me that it was kind of a conscious thought too, because here you guys are as a unit and as a staff in year 3, and you get Carson Wentz. You know, like, this is kind of a year to really take that extra jump. But for you, when it comes to coaching, I mean, do you care? Do you like guys who can come in ready? Do you prefer developmental guys, or is it just
I like talent?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you like talent. So it's like, you know, give me the talent, we'll coach them up. You know, to me right now, this time of year, I love this time of year. It's about developing. It's about establishing communication, system, understanding of the system. And I think, you know, with our whole secondary here and working, unlike last year, which was a problem, you know, some of it showed during the course of the year. You know, I think right now we're having a strong off season, great participation, and really getting to teach, getting an understanding of what we do and how we do it so the guys can play fast on Sunday.
You also, adding to like the safeties, Percy Butler. I know at times you use a lot of 3 safeties. He comes in with a little bit of experience as well, and I think you're like 53% of the time y'all had the 3. He can play inside the box, can play in coverage.
Right.
Do you go in with the plan of where you want him, or do you like the flexibility to be able to move those guys around?
Well, there's going to be flexibility. But I think with him, you know, we get a young man that has the speed to play in the slot, has the speed and the range to play in the free safety spot, and is physical enough to come down and play as a strong safety. So he's got the ability to do all of what we look for back there with the safety position, and we're excited about adding him.
You mentioned that the secondary back there, I mean, it takes time for them to kind of get to know each other, and as you mentioned that it took a little time last year, but now that you have that cohesion, you have some of that consistency with those guys coming back, what's the next step for that unit coming out of the gate?
Well, the next step, again, this time of year, when you can slow it down, explain exactly where you belong and why, how it all ties together, how we need to communicate on certain adjustments, certain formations, certain shifts, motions. That is critical right now. And, you know, I was disappointed last year when we did not have full participation. I thought it contributed to us having a poor year in the back end, because it's all about the back end has to play well for you to play great defense. You've got to cap things. You've got to, you know, understand where you belong and be there, and then just make your plays. But not to look back and make excuses and worry about it, but I feel much better about what we're doing now, the work we're putting in, the focus, the energy, the effort, the commitment. Those things pay off. There's no shortcut to success.
Well, I would imagine the guys too. The expectations were so high for this defense, and there were times where I know that last year.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of
we
times,
had it all figured out.
Yeah, didn't we? Didn't
Yeah,
we? It's
yeah.
funny how that goes. But you do learn a lot of lessons along the way. You talk about everybody being back here. Chase Young was back here too. How great was it to have him? Where is he kind of in his recovery and you know, taking that? I mean, injury stinks for any guy, but taking, you know, further growth into his career.
I mean, for Chase, we love Chase. He's a big part of our leadership here. You know, right now he's still in the rehabbing, healing process. So while he does that, you know, we've got other guys that are getting reps and working. But we need him to have a strong recovery. Yeah.
We're in like with the expectations I mentioned last year, they were sky high, and probably a few humbling moments along the way. But again,
Humble
not
pie.
looking
We
back,
had some humble
we had
pie
some humble
served
pie.
last year, yeah.
But again, lots of lessons from that. So
Yeah.
you know, in your third year, Coach Rivera in his third year, this unit coming together and kind of understanding what you guys wanted them. What expectations do you put on your defense?
I expect us to play really, really well and help our football team win. You know, that's like, where are we going to rank? I don't know. I think pretty high. But what I expect our guys to know what to do. I expect them to go there with serious attitude and intent, and I expect us to play great defense.
That's all you can ask for.
That's
Thank you,
what I'm
Coach.
looking for. You're welcome. Thanks, Julie.